Greetings, my friend, my small friends. This is Calculon, star of all my circuits.
All my circuit. I've been processing this for some time, Monique, and, well, will you marry me?
Oh, Calculon.
And you're listening to my unholy acting talent on Brigade Radio. Dramatic pause. One!
You're listening to Brigade-Radio-One.
First of all, where did they do the makeup test?
The makeup test was actually up in the Valley at Legacy Effects, their headquarters. We filmed it down in Manhattan Beach Studios, and I was called there. It was a secret code-name project. It was called Huckleberry, and it was 2 weeks after I had the makeup test. And I didn't know that it was going to be Star Wars until I walked into the wardrobe room. Richard A. Pora, he's an amazing celebrity costume designer. Once I looked at the walls and I saw my name saying Dominic Pace, Bounty Hunter, that's where my hands went a little numb, just as a lifelong Star Wars fan.
Nice. So where did they shoot that? They shoot
Manhattan Beach Studios.
So that's where they filmed it.
And almost, 95% of it. It's amazing what this LED screen can do. It's like they can use any universe within 2 or 3 stages and get an entire show going. It's absolutely amazing, the new technology.
So your first day on the set, you said George Lucas is there.
Again, it was just so many moments of like just needing to take a deep breath.
Now, what's George got to say? Or is George, knowing George, he's not saying anything?
Well, again, out of respect, just being a side character, didn't say a word, but I overheard him talking with Favreau about the history of the Mandalorians. And it was so wild because I think you can count on one hand the number of like Hollywood gods that are creating, can have this level of budget and talk about their universe. Spielberg, maybe James Cameron, George Lucas, maybe, the late Walt Disney. But it's like, this man who's got so much, to create, just be able to talk about his universe. It was like watching God speak about his creation, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So he's talking about the history of the Mandalorian.
Yes, and so I'm sitting there, and just within the cantina, there was a moment where my back was away from the cameras. And a lot of times as actors, we start to create the universe, and the cameras go away regardless. But my first play set in 1979, 1980 was the Cantina play set, and here I am in episode 1.
Legendary. Was that the empty box?
Yeah. It was with the Blue Snaggletooth, I think, or whatever.
Yeah, right. The one that initially came, we got that later, right? We got the first box that said figures on the way.
Yes.
And then like 6 months later, you got the cantina and the aliens, like a Hammerhead. And all that.
Hammerhead and Greedo.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there and just completely stunned that I'm within the cantina of my first playset as a child. It was just beyond words. Episode 1 and then 3 were featured during the standoff there. I was flanking the legendary Carl Weathers.
Yeah, legendary Carl Weathers. By the way, can I say, Kenner, not a good representation of the realities of the cantina. Not quite what we wanted as kids. Not with any of this stuff, but it was it's what we had.
Right.
So we used it. Right.
It was groundbreaking at that time.
Right. And then of course G.I. Joe came along, and those guys could actually bend their joints.
Right. I love that show, the Toys That Made Us. Yeah, they've got so much great little history to that there.
So Carl Weathers, obviously Apollo Creed.
Oh my God, 14-hour days. The man is 70 years old. Such a professional from start to finish. I'm Italian American, so I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Literally, the Rocky series was completely inspirational to me. So the Italian Americans, African Americans, we grew up as one together. Our own struggle, simultaneously in the Northeast. So to be alongside him, to me, was just also that made it even more of a special honor for me as an Italian American.
So day one, Cantina. Right. You're in there. Carl Weathers is in there. Lucas is, spouting off the history of the Mandalorian for anyone who wants to sort of, take elements of that.
Yeah.
And who directed that episode?
That was Dave Filoni.
Okay, so Filoni's directing, and he's got the set up. Like, walk us through your first day. What's your call time?
Call time, we were at 6 a.m. because we had to get there early because it was a 2-hour makeup process for me to get in makeup.
So 6 a.m., 2 hours of makeup. You're ready to go. You're watching them apply it, obviously, in the mirror. You're getting ready to go. You picked out your blaster after?
I picked out my blaster after, and I was late to get to the set. The reason being is I did something that was selfless. A lot of actors want to have their face seen, but they had this mask, this amazing, badass kind of a Bane-like mask for me. They couldn't find it. but I did not want to go to set until I got the mask. And even though it would give me a little bit less screen time, at least for the face exposure, I just said that this bounty hunter, he's badass. He's got to have that mask. And I waited for it. And then at that point, just the excitement was overwhelming, but at the same time, now you're worried that you want to be able to get in the shot.
The mask with props?
Yes.
Okay, so they send the PA to props. He comes back with the mask. Comes back with the wrong mask first, or does he have the right mask on the first try?
He's got the right mask, but it took a little bit of time, so I almost had to just get to set. But I didn't want to because, like I said, I just thought if they're going to make this character an action figure, which I'm praying they will, we've done such a major campaign, and all the fans, these Star Wars fans have come out of the woodwork. They've made so many custom-made figures of my character already. You've got to see it on Facebook. It's like beyond words. I'm donating a lot to charity in Oklahoma. We can talk about later. But anyhow, then we get to set. Pick my own blaster. There's 20 blasters in front of me. And again, the thing for me, I've always been so selfless. I wish I could have had every Star Wars fan soul within my heart that day, not only in the cantina where my back was away from the camera, so you felt like you were within the universe, but also at the same time to decide, what blaster every fan would have picked. And for me, I went with the biggest. There was a paintball canister in the back. It was amazing.
It's nice they let you do that because Gerald Nakamura always talks about Big Trouble in Little China, where he made weapons and he showed John Carpenter his assortment of weapons for his character. And Carpenter said, nah, those are your guns. And he had them already picked out. Which actually turned out to be a great call because it was like the Western-style revolvers and the bandoleros. Yeah. So you got your weapon. You run to the stage. Yes. The stage is the cantina.
Right.
And then from there, who takes charge? Like what is it? The AD's putting you on your mark?
How's it all got the first and second AD. And at that point, within the first episode, we're just featured throughout. I will say the shots that they used for the first episode, I was seen in the trailer. And that's where I literally needed to take a little shot of scotch because, again, for me...
Celebrate.
Even for episode 3 really established the character. But even just for episode 1, to just be immortalized within the Star Wars universe, I think every Star Wars fan can relate how amazing that is.
Now, remind the fans, the first shot that you are in, the first shot for your day, was what scene?
This is when Mando is coming in to speak with Greef Karga about any potential offers that are on the table. And you'll see me lurking throughout in the back. You'll also see through the previews where they say that they are jealous of you. As a Bounty Hunter Guild member, they're jealous of Mando because he is the best of the best. Let's call a spade a spade. It is what it is.
So obviously everyone's jealous of Mando. My daughter thinks, by the way, he shouldn't have taken off his helmet, or when he takes off his helmet, they shouldn't have revealed his face. Of course, she thinks like a producer because she's had to live with me through my Warner Brothers and now Universal days where it's like, if this actor ever gives you too much trouble, don't worry about it. He's in a helmet.
He's in a helmet. There
they
you go.
think that. They do think that. You know?
But you bring up a good point. John Wayne's grandson actually was there 90% of the time, and he was the Mando there most of the time. Is
that Ethan Wayne? Who is that? Which one?
Brendan Wayne is his name. Yes, and I believe there was another gentleman as well. Forgive me for not knowing his name. But Brendan Wayne was there a lot of the time and did an amazing job as well.
Yeah. Well, so much of that. I remember Jeremy Bullock over dinner told me once that he based his character on Eastwood's Man with No Name. And
because he got that cape.
He initially said that his brother-in-law or half-brother was one of the producers, and he was the AD on the original Star Wars. And he said, they're getting ready to do Star Wars 2, put your agent on it. And he went down, and he got the job because the costume fit. Yeah. And then from there, it was up to him to develop it because there really was no direction for him. And Ray Park said something very similar about when he came through the studio here, which is like, I went down there thinking I was going to do some fighting or fight coordination. And then I realized something odd was happening when they were walking me to wardrobe and saying, let's try a few things. And he kind of like suddenly picked up, I'm going to be a character in this.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize to what extent. But it's interesting how some of it is like mystifying when I talk to all you Star Wars vets, where sometimes you know what you're going in for. Other times you think you're there for a job and they'll be like, hey, can you go over there and, go report to wardrobe?
Absolutely.
They got something for you.
You better subscribe to this channel before you look uncool.